Hi everyone, welcome back to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. My name's Alice and today's video is a vlog, and it's a vlog all about my first ever reading of the book Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. Hi everyone, my name's Alice, and if you're new here, I love books and I have way too many of them. But today's video is all about Jane Austen July, and I'm making a vlog to take you with me as I read Mansfield Park for the very first time. I'm filming this at the end of the read-along. Basically, the read-along was part of Jane Austen July, which is being hosted by Katie at Books and Things, Claudia at Spinster's Library, and Marissa at Blatantly Bookish. I will link all of their 3 channels in the description down below, and I highly recommend that you check them out. I will also link the Goodreads group for the Mansfield Park read-along so that you can join in there if you have been reading this book for Jane Austen July. It's important that I let you know from the outset there are going to be spoilers. I'm going to talk about Mansfield Park every few days. You'll be coming along with me as I react to each chapter or each section of the book that I've read. So do be prepared for spoilers. I've also put in the description down below what times to avoid if you don't want to see any spoilers of Mansfield Park, if you are perhaps still reading it or haven't read it yet. Without any further ado, I hope you enjoy the vlog as much as I've enjoyed reading Mansfield Park. Today it is the 1st of July and it's my very first Jane Austen July. So I'm going to be starting with reading Mansfield Park for the read-along today. I need to read chapters 1, 2 and 3, and I've never read Mansfield Park before, and I thought what I would do this month is take you with me as I go through reading Mansfield Park. I've got my Jane Austen July bingo ready, and I've got my Jane Austen card that my dad sent me for reference with some Jane Austen spoilers. Basically it says that everyone gets married, but it doesn't mention Mansfield Park, so we'll see what happens in that. And I've got my Mansfield Park over here. I've put a bookmark in to show me where chapter 1 starts because there's a big introduction, and I'm not going to read that until afterwards because all too often I have accidentally read spoilers in introductions of classics that I haven't read yet. So starting Mansfield Park today, and I'm going to check in with you perhaps briefly every day. Might not be every single day, but we'll see how it goes. And today's day 1, so let's get reading. Chapter 1. It's now day 3 of Jane Austen July, and I thought I would check in. So this is the first update. Getting ready for the England match later on, England versus Ukraine in the quarter-final of the Euros. So excited for that, but equally getting excited reading Mansfield Park. I feel like today I'm finally getting into it. I've just read my chapters, which was today chapter 6, 7 and 8, and I have to say I really don't want to leave it for today. I'm enjoying it too much, which hasn't been the case in the last couple of days. Not that I haven't been enjoying it, I have enjoyed it, but it always takes me a few chapters to get into, like the Jane Austen frame of mind, the style, to get into the language. I'm finally there and it's getting very interesting. I have studiously avoided any spoilers of Mansfield Park. The other Jane Austen books that I haven't read are Pride and Prejudice, which I feel like I already know everything about, even though I don't think I've watched an adaptation of it. Emma, which I feel like I know something about. And Sense and Sensibility, I'm not really sure of the plot of that one, to be honest. But Mansfield Park, I really don't have a clue what's going to happen in it. Yeah, it's interesting so far. So basically, in the beginning, there was lots of family stuff about the different family members and who they got married to. Fanny Price is the daughter of a sister who's gone off and married inappropriately. Her mother was about to have her 9th child, so Fanny has been sent to live with her aunt and her uncle. Her other aunt and uncle live nearby as well. I felt really sorry for Fanny at the beginning. I could really identify with her because I've always been very shy and get very nervous and unhappy in new places, so I really felt for her when she was feeling homesick and sad and missing her brother. I could relate. In the intervening few chapters of the book, Fanny has grown up a bit and she's now 18. And there's been a big discussion in yesterday's chapters of whether she was out or not, as in whether she's going to balls and things, which she's not as yet. Fanny tends to stay at home and be a companion for Lady Bertram because Sir Thomas Bertram, her uncle, has gone away, and Lady Bertram really appears to just spend most of her time sitting on her sofa with her pug. She's a very amusing character, really enjoying the bits with Lady Bertram and the pug. She doesn't like to do anything at all. Fanny has been a bit of a companion to her, and the main family member who treats Fanny really well is Edmund, her cousin. He's the younger of the 2 boys, and there are also a couple of sisters, Maria and Julia. One of them has got engaged already, and the other is kind of vaguely being courted by these new characters who've arrived. Yesterday things started to get stirred up by the arrival of Mr. and Mrs. Crawford. They are basically stirring everything up. Miss Crawford unfortunately seems to like Edmund, even though she was supposed to like the older brother Tom. So that's going to put a bit of a spanner in the works for Fanny, I think, because Edmund is the one who's really nice to her and Fanny really likes him. It's obvious. I thought from the very beginning, from the moment Edmund comes and finds Fanny crying on the stairs and helps her write a letter to her brother who she misses, you could tell that he's going to be the kindest character to her, potentially. I know they're cousins, but potentially the love interest, because I think love interests between cousins wasn't so bad in those days. Not sure. I was thinking that Edmund and Fanny might be meant to be together, but that's obviously not going to happen now Miss Crawford has turned up. Since the Crawfords have arrived, the book's perked up no end. It's getting quite interesting, and Fanny has actually set off on a trip with the whole family, apart from Lady Bertram and Pug, who can't possibly go on a journey anywhere. They've gone to visit Mr. Rushworth, who is the oldest sister's future husband. They've just arrived, and I don't really want to leave it at this point, but I'm going to because I'm trying to read it along with the read-along. Getting on okay with my Jane Austen July bingo. We have had a proposal of marriage, but it wasn't really a big one, so we've definitely had a clergyman. There's several clergymen in this one. We've had a mention of bonnets, we've had a letter, we've had a character takes a walk, the rest of them not so much. Bath has been mentioned, but there's not been a trip there. So, and I've also been reading along with my mum. She's been texting me about it as we read, and there has been a quotation of poetry or Shakespeare in the last couple of chapters, so I'm going to tick that off. Found a few things on the bingo so far. Looking forward to reading some more chapters tomorrow. I'll check in again about Mansfield Park. It's day 6, it's the 6th of July, and today's chapters were chapter 13 and chapter 14. Since I last recorded anything, I have been enjoying the book. I really enjoyed their trip to visit Southerton. I was hoping that Edmund would stop liking Miss Crawford because she was so horrible about curates, and then found out that he was going to become a curate, but unfortunately that doesn't seem to have put him off. The Crawfords are still stirring up trouble, basically. Yeah, not really very much has happened since then. Fanny has been to her first ball, which was one of the things on the bingo, but it was actually just a little ball they seemed to throw for her at home, so I'm not too sure about that. And now, randomly and out of the blue, they've decided to put on a play. They're putting on a play of Lovers' Vows, and it's caused trouble between the 2 sisters, who are not happy with each other as usual. So Julia's stormed off. Maria has got the main part. Fanny's just sat down to read Lover's Vows and thinks it's very inappropriate for them to put on as a play. I don't actually know that play. I feel like it's wandered off a little bit, but I'm sure it will come back good. I'm sure there must be some reason for them to put on the play. In yesterday's chapters, they were all quite upset about the father of the house coming home. So they're all quite sad about their father coming home, Sir Thomas Bertram. I think that's because he's quite strict. I think they're just making the most of things, putting on this play before he gets back. Hopefully I'll have more to say next time. It's now day 12, it's the 12th of July and I'm still reading Mansfield Park in line with the read along. I've just finished chapter 26 and 27. I'm still keeping up with the read along and in time with where I should be. I've been really enjoying reading 2 or 3 chapters a day and it's been providing a nice break between it each day. I've been reading lots of other books in the background, not to do with Jane Austen. Yeah, it's been a really enjoyable way to read Mansfield Park. Just to warn you, this bit I'm about to talk about, there will be some spoilers. The characters were stopped from doing the play by the return of Sir Thomas Bertram in the middle of rehearsals, and he's put a stop to all of it, thankfully. So that's not going on anymore, and since Sir Thomas Bertram has been back, there's been quite a few changes in the family. So Maria has married Mr. Rushworth because Mr. Crawford had gone off out of town, and there had been a bit of a rift developed between Maria and Julia, but they've made it up, and Maria and Julia have both gone off together on the honeymoon with Mr. Rushworth, gone to Brighton, so they've been out of the book for a bit, which has brought Fanny more into the spotlight at home. She's been out to the vicarage to dine with the Grants and with Miss Crawford, who's been enjoying Fanny's company, and it seems Fanny's really growing up now. Her brother's come to stay, which she's really enjoyed. It's been nice to finally meet William properly, and she's obviously very, very fond of William. There's still a bit of will they won't they going on between Edmund and Miss Crawford. Edmund's now reached the point where he really wants to propose to Miss Crawford, but he's worried that she will say no because he's also about to be ordained. The book's just got a lot more exciting because they're having a ball for Fanny for the last day that William is staying, so lots of people have been invited and it's being thought of as Fanny's coming out into the world. I'm really looking forward to the ball, and I feel sure that something interesting is going to happen at that ball. And after the ball, Edmund and William both go away, so does Mr. Crawford. So I don't really know what's going to become of Fanny and Miss Crawford and the others after that, so we'll see. I've been enjoying the Jane Austen July bingo, managed to tick off quite a few of the different things now. Been having fun with Jane Austen July. I've watched Clueless. I now really want to listen to my audiobook of Emma because I would really like to see what the actual similarities are between Clueless and Emma, because I haven't actually read or seen any adaptation of Emma other than Clueless. So I may watch another adaptation of Emma. I definitely am going to listen to my audiobook, but I think I might wait until after I've finished Mansfield Park so that I don't get anything confused. We're over halfway in the read along. It's nice to read a classic that you don't really know anything about. Just thought I would check in. It's Sunday the 17th of July. Didn't read my chapters yesterday. It's the first time that I've missed a day, so I've got 5 chapters to read today, and I thought I would get on and do some of that in a minute. I'm still really enjoying Mansfield Park. This bit definitely has spoilers, so don't watch if you haven't read Mansfield Park or don't want to know what's happening in it at the moment. Mr. Crawford has essentially proposed to Fanny and she's not interested. Where I was up to yesterday, Edmund had been talking to her about that. Mr. Crawford's decided not to give up on Fanny. I don't really know if I like that direction of storyline. I'm still enjoying the book, but I can see that Fanny might end up being the sort of person to be pressured into getting engaged to Mr. Crawford, and I don't really want her to. I'd rather she didn't back down, so we'll have to see how it goes. Anyway, I've got 5 chapters to read today, and after that I think we've only got 3 more days left of the read along, so it's getting towards the end. We're into volume 3, and let's see how I get on today. It's a very hot day, so I might do some reading in the garden. Hi again. I said that I would check in after I read the 5 chapters. I actually forgot to film any reading yesterday, but I did read the 5 chapters. It was just that it was very hot. I didn't end up filming, but I read my 5 chapters and I am caught up now, so I think I've got to read 2 chapters today, and then I think it's 3 chapters for the last 2 days, and then we'll be done with Mansfield Park. Possible spoilers ahead. Fanny has now gone from Mansfield Park to visit her family in Portsmouth, which is a very different section of the book. So she's no longer being pursued by Mr. Crawford. She's no longer obsessing about Edmund. She's just away with her family, and it's been a lot more about the Price family and where she came from, and the contrast between that and Mansfield Park, which has been quite interesting. I thought I'd tell you how I'm getting on with Jane Austen July bingo. There's actually only maybe 3 or 4 things left on this that I haven't ticked off. The only one I'm not sure about is an aristocrat appears, because I wondered if Sir Thomas Bertram is actually an aristocrat, so I haven't ticked it. All we've got left apart from that is a parent is embarrassing, a mention of muslin, and a scandal ensues. About 70 pages left of Mansfield Park, so I'm hoping in the last 70 pages we're going to have a scandal that is something to do with muslin and parents being embarrassing. Otherwise I'm not going to complete my bingo on this one book, and I'll have to go on to my audiobook of Emma. My other update for Jane Austen July today, and it is Monday now, it's the 19th of July, is that I have started Frankenstein, which is the book I was going to read that's by a contemporary of Jane Austen. I've read the sort of opening chapter and the letters before that chapter, so it's really interesting so far. I'm very intrigued and looking forward to reading the rest of this. It's the final day of the Mansfield Park read-along. It's the 21st of July, and I've got 3 chapters left to read. I don't think I finished my chapters yesterday. I only read 2 chapters yesterday instead of 3, so I've actually got 4 chapters to read, and then I will be at the very end of Mansfield Park. I'm really hoping that even though Fanny's gone away on this trip to Portsmouth and is longing for Mansfield Park, I'm really hoping that it doesn't mean that she's going to reading Out in the Sun, and I'm on to not quite the penultimate chapter, the chapter before that, of Mansfield Park, and we finally have a scandal to tick off on the Jane Austen July bingo. So now I only need a mention of muslin, but I don't think that's going to happen in this book, sadly. So yeah, a scandal is ensuing. Mr. Crawford has been seen going out with Mrs. Rushworth. So I'm going to tick off my bingo, and I'll check in with you when I finish the book. I'm so happy with that ending. It was brilliant. Jane Austen really knows how to do a satisfying ending. I thought that when I read Persuasion, and I think it again now. Great stuff. I'm going to go back inside and I will chat to you in a minute about my views. Wow, I've just finished Mansfield Park and I'm so happy with the ending. I can't even tell you how happy I am with the ending. I should have had more faith in Jane Austen and where she was going with it, because I thought from the beginning that should happen. I'm just going to warn you one last time in this video of spoilers. This time it's major spoilers about the ending of Mansfield Park. So if you haven't read it yet, please don't watch the next few minutes. Are you ready? So I am just thrilled with the ending of this. Jane Austen just wrote that final chapter so brilliantly, kept me guessing until the very end as to what would happen, even though at the very beginning when Edmund first spoke to Fanny, I thought these two were meant to be together. And happily that happened, and I think in the footage of me reading outside just now, I'm hoping that my smile came across, because I was smiling so much as I read the final few pages. Just brilliant. I loved the start of that chapter, which began, "Let other pens dwell on guilt and misery. I quit such odious subjects as soon as I can, impatient to restore everybody, not greatly in fault themselves, to tolerable comfort, and to have done with all the rest." I loved that beginning to that chapter, and I loved even more the ending to the chapter. Everybody's stories get wrapped up, Fanny's and Edmund's very delightfully, and I loved hearing about their sort of happily ever after, if you will. Mansfield Park is a big book, and there was a lot of time in the middle where, if you haven't read it before, you don't really know which direction it's going to go. I did worry before the scandal came up about Fanny and whether she would change her mind about Mr. Crawford, but I was so glad she didn't. I'm so glad she stuck to her principles, didn't let everybody else influence her. She wasn't in love with him and she thought he had a bad character, and she was right. Yeah, I'm really thrilled that the Crawfords got their comeuppance in the end. We're not given a happy ending that they didn't deserve. Yeah, I really enjoyed Mansfield Park. At the moment, obviously I've just finished this, I would say this is probably on a par with Persuasion in my affections. That ending was really satisfying, and so was the ending to Persuasion, so I can't separate them in that regard. I really liked the characters in this one. Jane Austen just writes them so well and believably that she has you hating the Crawfords and just wanting Fanny and Edmund to succeed and to be happy. I would say my reading of Mansfield Park has increased my liking for Jane Austen. I now need to read the big three: Emma, Pride and Prejudice, and Sense and Sensibility. Coming off the subject of Mansfield Park, I have not had very much success in watching adaptations of Jane Austen, because I was going to watch the BBC Pride and Prejudice, which I thought was on Netflix. I also thought the Keira Knightley version was on Netflix, and they're both gone, so they obviously didn't want me to watch it in Austen July. I may try and find another way to watch Pride and Prejudice, but if not, I might watch a different adaptation if I can find one of the books. It's a shame that I don't think there's a famous adaptation of Mansfield Park, because I would really like to watch one now that I've read it, but if I can't find one, I might try and find an adaptation for Persuasion. I think there are some. I'm pleased with my Jane Austen July bingo. I've ticked off every single box except for a mention of muslin, so perhaps if I listen to Emma I will get a full house on the bingo. But having said that, I'm going to end the vlog here. It is still the last day of the read along. It's still July the 21st. I had to change my top because you may have seen the footage of me dropping an ice lolly down myself. It was worth it to read Mansfield Park out in the sun. I think that concludes my Mansfield Park vlog. I hope you've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed reading Mansfield Park, and I hope some of the things I've said have been coherent enough for you to enjoy coming along with me as I read Mansfield Park for the very first time. If you're new here, please do subscribe. I don't very often make vlogs, but I do talk about books a lot. If you've enjoyed this vlog, please do give it a like. That would be much appreciated. I hope you're all enjoying Jane Austen July as well. Please do give me a comment down below if you've been joining in with the Mansfield Park read along, and let me know what you thought of that magnificent ending. I hope to see you all again soon for another video all about books here on Alice on the Giant Bookshelf. Bye for now.